You know there's the Yeti. Jay Hills knows where those Yetis are right now.
Marion receives the kickoff at the goal line. Starts toward the far sideline. Has to slow his roll, and that will allow him to be tackled at the 23-yard line. BYU facing a 77-yard field with 1:38 on the second quarter clock. It's Utah 21 and BYU 10. It's 14 straight for the Utes.
Got a little scuffle going over on the Utah sideline. BYU in Utah's face. Utah back in BYU's face. Some pushing back and forth. Now the officials are getting in the middle of it.
No offensive touchdowns for BYU in the first half. Utah has outscored BYU in the second quarter 21-7. The last time an opponent scored 22 in one quarter was Arkansas 2 years ago in Provo. BYU has 3 points due to the offense, and that is it here in the first half.
Utah's got the fans going. They're jumping up and down and waving their arms and getting the crowd going.
BYU tight end, wide receiver right, 2 wide receivers left. Pistol, option, LJ, stiff arm, coming right side. No gain, maybe a loss on the play, run out at the sideline.
I don't know how you don't throw the flag on Tanavasa right there. He comes through the middle of the line and he grabs Jake Retzloff and he throws him, he turns him and torques him and chucks him. I see the official talking to Tanavasa saying, whoa, man, don't be doing that. But he threw Retzloff after he had made that handoff.
Loss of 1. Martin, 5 carries, 20 yards is all. Brandon Rose by himself has almost the same number of rushing yards as the BYU team tonight. The hand clap from Retzloff. You can hear it amid the din. Completion. Intermediate to JoJo. JoJo's had a good first half. To the 41-yard line, a 19-yard gain. 1:25 to play. The clock will stop. The sticks will move. Now it runs. BYU 1 timeout remaining. 1:20 on the clock. It's Utah 21, BYU 10. Again, the Cougs can swing this game right back around. Score here. Score to start the second half, and you're right back where you need to be.
Utah with their
a lot of time here as they're going to sub slow. The Utes will. It'll go under a minute before the next snap. Retzloff gun. Belt high. Settle. Fire. Pass broken up, intended for Lassiter at the 45 of Utah. He was rocked by a pair of defenders, including Alakai Gilman. Incomplete, second down and 10 from the BYU 41.
Alakai Gilman puts his shoulder into it. Elijah Davis was on man responsibility, but Alakai sitting there in that zone look at the safety position and kind of throws the shoulder in on it. And that's a tough one. That's only a 3-man rush, too. So Utah dropping an extra defender to give a little bit of zone look.
Retzloff in shotgun. 10-second play clock. 51-second game clock. 2nd and 10 at the BYU 41. Ball near hash. Coots left to right. Retzloff takes a 5-step drop. Now runs out to the right. Squares to throw and throws it away at the sideline, and a late hit out of bounds perhaps there by Tanuvasa. Flags fly, and
yeah, that's going to be a late hit on Jake.
That should put it in Utah territory with 45 seconds to go until halftime.
Well, Tanuvasa.
It'll be the 4th penalty against the Utes.
Foul, roughing the passer. Defense number 57, 15-yard penalty, automatic first down.
He's already been talked to by the official. Remember, I was talking about at the beginning of this drive. He chucked Retzloff. On this one, Retzloff throws the ball and kind of holds up and stalls, and Tanavasa just continues to drive him after he touches him on the sideline.
44-yard line of Utah. BYU looking to close the gap before the break. Here we go. 45 seconds on the clock. 1st and 10 at the Ute 44. Ball near hash mark. Retzloff in a pocket that holds. Now sprint out left. Square to throw. Flag flies as he throws incomplete in the end zone.
It's going to be holding on Keanu Hill.
That's going to be penalty number 6 against BYU in the first half.
Offense number 1.
Yeah.
10-yard penalty. First down.
Keanu Hill's off the left side of this thing, and he just gets a hand on his defender just a little bit too much. You see Alakai Gilman, he just throws his hands up and tries to make it really obvious that he's getting held right there.
A BYU team averaging 4.5 penalties per game has 6 against the Utes in the first half in Salt Lake City. It's been that kind of night for BYU. The Cougs are out of sorts, and penalties just one indication. Kingston, JoJo, wide left. There's a single wide right with Retzloff in the gun. 1st and 20 now, back at the BYU 46 after the hold. They motion Kingston to twins right. Jake surveying, throwing to Parker. Parker tackled at the 42 of the U. He gets 12. It'll be 2nd and 8 for BYU.
It's a great job by Parker Kingston to get himself open.
The clock is running. Under 20. BYU has a timeout left, now down to 19 before the timeout is called. So the Cougs are out of timeouts with 19 seconds on the first half clock. Many fewer options available now with the clock where it is.
Their final timeout of the half. Clock operator, please put 21 seconds.
So at the very least, you want to put yourself in position to make it a one-score game. A field goal would do that, bring the deficit to 8 before the break. And BYU specializing this year in these late first-half drives resulting in willfare and field goal attempts. Now with 21 seconds now on the clock, 21 on the clock, and no timeouts remaining. Not every play works. And so we'll see what Aaron Roderick can turn to in a game his team trails by 11. The spot of the ball is the 42, so you're looking at 59, which would be a little outside the Will Ferrin range. Career long is 54 for Will. So you're looking for at least 5 yards, ideally more, in the final 21 seconds, but again without the availability of a timeout. And running a field goal team on with seconds ticking away.
Tough.
Is no piece of cake.
Yeah.
Retzloff is in the gun. 2nd and 8 at the Ute 42. Utes up 21-10. Retzloff now steps to the center and audible with the 10-second play clock. Backs into the gun. Rapati off his right hip. Tight end, 2 wides left, single wide right. Jake will look left, he will look middle, he will throw complete to the 31st down. The clock will stop to move the sticks. Kingston on the catch. 15 seconds, the clock is stopped. BYU will look to spike to stop the clock again. Now the ball is set. Now the clock runs. 14, 13, 12. Jake under center, I believe, to spike and movement. Flags fly. The Cougs, I think, false started to try and get the ball to Retzloff to spike. And a false start would stop the clock.
False start. Offense number 63. The clock was running. This requires a 10-second runoff.
Yep, half's over.
The half will be over.
Yep. BYU commits a penalty that would have stopped the clock. And now with 9 seconds on the clock, unless they review the clock, this half will be over, and BYU will be in field goal position without the ability to kick for 3.
Well,
half is over.
That's
half is over. Unbelievable. Well, not unbelievable. It's
believable in this thing.
Yeah, in this instance, it's been that kind of half.
That's tough when you use those timeouts early on in the half. Now remember, this second half, those timeouts are critical. You can't get close to the end of the clock and have to call a timeout.
What BYU tried to do was have Retzloff spike.
Hold on.
Now that they may review the clock.
We're checking the time on the game clock.
If it was that the false start happened with 11 or more,
yes,
the runoff takes you to 1, and you can snap for a field goal to end the half.
Exactly.
So they will review the clock to see if it was at 11 when the flags flew or when the whistle blew.
They're going to have to get Utah out of their locker room. The entire team is off the field.
Well, as soon as the flag flew, Utah basically started waving its team saying it's over because they knew the runoff would come. The clock stopped to move the sticks. BYU hurried to the line in the attempt to get Retzloff under center to spike. But then the flags flew, and the false start
was officially over.
It did call it over. So BYU will not even get a chance to make it a one-score game. The half ends, and the ball would have been in position to give Ferret a 49-yard field goal try and give BYU a shot in the arm to make it a one-score game before the break.
You know, just tough overall clock and timeout management in that entire first half. That second half, remember, those timeouts are critically important. You can't use one because you're at the back end of the snap clock, and you've got to make sure that you're not having to fight off delay of games. Get those calls in. Make sure you got all 3 of those timeouts at the back end of this thing.
We'll see if Kalani will share a word with Mitchell Juergens. Kalani's still talking with the referee heading toward the locker room. He's pretty hot. We'll see if he'll take a minute with Mitch. Mitch, go ahead.
Coach, the team's faced some adversity. What's your overall assessment of the first half?
Yeah, we'll bounce back from it, man.
This is a good test for us. It's great. I mean, this is what everybody's making mistakes. Offense, defense, special teams. We obviously didn't handle that. That's on me as a head coach. So we got to get off of this being flustered and get our wits about us and get back in there and play the game, man. Right now, everybody's just gone all over the place, so we just got to get back on it. We'll be fine.
Yeah, Utah's offense has scored on 3 straight drives, scored touchdowns. What's the answer to slow them down?
Well, don't make mistakes. Don't get PIs. Don't rough the passer. Don't get face mask penalties. All those things. Play assignments on football. That's what we got to do. And we got 30 minutes to make it right.
Thanks, Coach.
All right, thank you, Coach, and Mitchell Juergens. Halftime recap coming up next, 21-10 Utes at the break on the new skin, BYU Sports Network.
You named your sons Steve, Jimmer, and Lavelle. 1984 is a place of joy to you, not a dystopian book. Your blood runs blue, despite what science says. You're BYU, and we get you, because we give it our all to ensure the Cougs can too, be it injury prevention, rehabilitation, or orthopedic surgery. And we do the same for you. Intermountain Utah Valley Hospital, official medical provider for BYU Athletics. Learn more at intermountainsportsmed.org.
Nobody believed that BYU would win the 1984 championship. Nobody but the team, the die-hard fans, and the ones who dared to dream big. Relive the 1984 season like never before with exclusive, untold stories from Lavelle Edwards' family, sports writers who covered the season and players. An exclusive look inside BYU's national championship win, available at Deseret.com/1984.
The dive, the touchdown!
You're listening to BYU Football on BYU Radio.
Ebenezer Scrooge, you have yet a chance of escaping my fate.
Humbug.
You still have time to get a Mountain America Rewards credit card and earn 3 times the points on every dollar spent, but only through the stroke of midnight on December 31st.
I suppose I can learn to enjoy the holidays with triple rewards.
Apply today and learn more at macu.com/triple.
Membership required based on eligibility. Loans on approved credit offer can change or be withdrawn at any time. Limited time offer. Business cards not eligible.
As observant Jews, we are obligated to follow "You shall love the stranger," which is reiterated in a variation an astonishing 36 times.
Don't oppress the stranger, love the stranger. It does not say love your children, because that's obvious, that comes easily. When something has to be repeated this many times, it's difficult.
This week, we speak with a rabbi and her husband about the good we can do when we serve alongside those of another faith. Sunday on BYU Radio and the In Good Faith podcast.
This is Cougar Halftime Live. Cougar Halftime Live is brought to you by Waystar, simplifying healthcare payments. Learn more at waystar.com. Here's your host, Jason Shepard.
Let's quickly pause 10 seconds for station identification on the new skin BYU Sports Network.
This is BYU Radio on KBYU FM HD2 Provo. You're listening to BYU Football on BYU Radio.
Well, at the half, BYU trailing 21-10 coming up on Cougar Halftime Live. Austin Collie will join me in our BYU Radio studios to discuss everything that happened in the first half. Plus, we'll go over a crazy day in college football. But before we do that, let's get you back to the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
Thank you, Jason. BYU fans, relax this Thanksgiving with Tucano's Brazilian Grill. Enjoy a full traditional Thanksgiving feast, plus all your Tucano's favorites. Reserve to dine in or order your home Thanksgiving meal today at Tucanos.com. 21-10, Utah leading BYU. Cougs had a 3-0 lead after one. All Utes in the second quarter. Well, mostly all Utes. 21-7, Utah outscores BYU. The Cougs' lone touchdown in the first half came on a heck of a play that gave the Cougs a 10-7 lead and momentum at the time, and it came on Keelan Marion's second kickoff return touchdown of the year. Kickoff return from Keelan Marion from the 4-yard line. Keelan shoots a gap. He's got the 35-40. There he goes. 50, 45, 40. Stays on his feet. He's gonna go. Touchdown! Touchdown, Keelan Marion and the Cougars.
Keelan Marion turning on the Jets and finding 6 points for BYU.
That came after a Utah touchdown that gave the Utes a momentary lead. BYU then led 10-7 on the ensuing Utah possession inside its own 35-yard line. The Utes were backed into a 3rd and 12 and made the play of the half. A bullet from Brandon Rose finding Singer for a big gainer that kept the drive alive, that put the Utes back in front, and then trailing 14-10. BYU had a sequence of plays that at this point spells out the first half. From a 2nd and 1, BYU threw away up on 2nd and 1. It was a pass play that Retzloff had to throw away under duress. On 3rd and 1, Martin couldn't gain a yard on a run, and on 4th and 1, Chase Roberts was stopped. Was it on a jet or a throw to the right side? It was a swing pass.
It was a swing pass.
Yeah,
it was off a yo-yo formation.
1-on-1 on the outside. The tackler made a clean stop of Roberts. BYU gave the ball back to Utah, and the Utes scored to make it 21-10. Then, in the closing seconds of the first half, when BYU was just trying to get into position to give Will Farron a field goal shot, they rushed to the line to spike the ball to do just that, and they false started. And a penalty-riddled first half ends with a penalty. 7 penalties, 53 yards for BYU, the most in any half this season. Yes, there's time, and BYU may come back for a memorable win in this game. But the main fear in the rivalry game is you don't look like yourself. And BYU, in a lot of ways, didn't look like itself in the first half. And as I said earlier, penalties are one indicator. When you're averaging 4.5 a game, and you have 7 in the first half of the Utah game, you're not yourself.
Yeah, so a couple things now, Greg. This second half is going to be about Jay Hill and this defense's ability to adjust to what Brandon Rose and this new offensive coordinator are doing. So Jay Hill is a Kyle Whittingham defense. So Kyle and Morgan Scalley, they know what Jay Hill was going to come in and do defensively. And the reason I know that blitz that Brandon Rose broke, and I call it cracking the blitz, where you brought your 2 interior linebackers, and which was a 6-man blitz, and he cracked it by hitting Mekhi Bernard in the flats for that touchdown off the outside. That's knowing what Jay Hill is going to do, and that's Mike Bajakian understanding that and helping Brandon Rose understand that. So Jay Hill is going to have to mix this thing up because there's 3 outlets. There's Brant Keithy, there's Dorian Singer, and there's Mekhi Bernard. Man them up, get your extra pressure going with Jack Kelly in some type of rush formation, and start getting the pressure. But make sure those 3 outlets are sealed.
21-10, Utes lead the Cougs. A Utah team that hadn't scored more than 20 in almost 2 months scores 21 in the first 30 minutes of this one. Now back to BYU Radio. Jason Shepard, Austin Collie, Cougar Halftime Live. Gents, back to you.
Very much, Greg. Yeah, not the halftime score we were all expecting or hoping. Look, there are a lot of things to go into, but I guess with all of the issues that BYU dealt with in the first half, we'll get to some of those. Let's go to the very end of the half, Austin. BYU had an opportunity to at least attempt to get a field goal and pull within a touchdown and a 2-point conversion going into half, knowing they were going to get the ball to begin the third quarter. What happened on that last play where they weren't able to spike it and they got the false start? Take me through that from your perspective.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't tell you. It looked like it was just a massive debacle, right? Everybody knows football 101, you're clocking in that situation. First off, you got the receivers walking or running to the other side of the formation to try and get lined up because they think they're in the wrong formation. They shouldn't be going anywhere. Whatever side of the ball that you are on as a receiver, you run back on that side, you line up and you clock it. Then you got Jake in the gun thinking he's about to run another play. He comes up in center late, and then he says something to the center like he's communicating. It's like everybody in that situation should know in a clock it scenario when it is and what you're doing.
Throughout the first half, BYU got the touchdown on the kickoff return, which obviously put them back up 10-7. The offense had moved the ball a little bit, but overall, the offense is responsible for 3 points in the first half. What does the BYU offense need to do to generate the type of production that we've seen all season long heading into tonight?
Well, first off, the defense, BYU defense has got to get off the ball or get off the field, right? I think ultimately that's what's been happening. That's what's been happening for 2 quarters right now. The defense continues to shoot themselves in the foot through penalties. We can't seem to contain the quarterback, right? I mean, credit to Rose. He came in here. I think a lot of people thought maybe this is going to be his first start. He was going to crumble a little bit, but credit to him. He looks poised as ever. We don't look like we can rattle him. I think this second half, Jay Hill, I mean, hopefully he's gone back to the locker room and said, hey, we didn't plan for this. We had no film on the guy. Now we know what to expect. This is what we're going to do. And hopefully that means pressure the guy, right? We got to bring as much pressure as possible and then depend on that back half of our defense to cover and make plays when they're to be had.
How surprised are you that the offense for Utah has been able to move the ball like it has? Because we've not seen this type of efficiency against this offense back to back to back like we've seen in this game.
Well, I think talking to what Hans was saying before, right before we came on, I think everybody knows Jay Hill. His pedigree comes from Utah. It comes from Winningham. They have a little bit of an idea of maybe or anticipating what Jay's going to do. But then also, I think, this is a game that means something to them. Like, if they could disrupt our perfect season right now, they're going to, that's adding an injection to the arm, right? And so you get guys like Micah. I do think a lot of the BYU guys, man, they look like they're a little disheveled. Like, on defense, there's a little bit of miscommunication going on. Guys are not playing assignment-sound football, and I think that maybe they thought they were going to be able to walk in here and just kind of run the same old drill and be able to stick it to this offense. But clearly, they got a little bit of the spark with the Rose kid. And Micah Bernard, he's a hard runner. We've known that for a while. And so, we got to stop him from getting the extra yards after contact, and then we got to stop shooting ourselves in the foot with the penalties, man.
Well, with BYU getting the ball to start the second half, look, you're down 11. If you can come out and get a touchdown on the opening drive, that will settle things down immensely. I think it will settle everything down for BYU, defense, everything. And if you can come out and get that score, and then the defense can come out and get the ball back for the offense, there is a path here for BYU to get back into this. There is 2 quarters of football, and you have an opportunity to cut the lead to 4 on the first possession. Is that kind of what the coaches are saying right now?
Yeah. I don't think the offense, the Utah offense, comes out and is as nearly as effective this second half. I think there's a little bit of adrenaline, right? That first half. Again, I think a lot of the situations where they were able to continue drives were big shot plays that were just misassignments, guys not getting home to the quarterback. So I Cougar fans, settle down, okay? It's going to be okay. I still think we come out with the W, and I still think Jay goes in there. I think it was a wake-up call. This first half was a wake-up call. My biggest concern, I know for a fact the defense is going to get things together. I just hope the offense can start putting some drives together, even though they haven't had the chance to do it as much in the first half. But it seems like Jake's making all the right throws, man. Guys are getting open. So Cougar fans, relax. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, the opening drive of the second half is absolutely crucial. Austin, thanks for the insight. As always, we'll let you get back down to the TV, guys, and people can check you out on the post-game show as well.
Okay, thank you.
There we go. That's Austin Collie. We'll take a break. It's 21-10, Utah leading BYU. We'll get to some scores around the Big 12 and top 25 when we return on the new skin, BYU Sports Network.
Takes the swing pass in the right flat and takes it to the house.
You're listening to BYU Football on BYU Radio.
2025 marks BYU's 150th anniversary, and the BYU Salt Lake Center invites you to celebrate. Earn credits towards your bachelor's or get your master's in the heart of Salt Lake City. Enjoy an enriching educational experience with engaged instructors and smaller classes. Conveniently located near UTA tracks, frontrunner stations, and Temple Square. Wherever your educational journey leads, discover your why at slc.byu.edu.
BYU Continuing Education, inspiring lifelong learning.
Telling stories is like looking at the stars.
Meet Sam Payne, host of The Appleseed.
When we engage with the stories of the world, we turn our hearts and we turn our thoughts to the people who have told and kept those stories. When we share old stories, we think about the generations who kept and told those stories. And when we tell new stories, we leave a breadcrumb trail for people to discover us when we're gone in the telling and sharing and hearing of their stories.
The Appleseed, available wherever you get your podcasts.
This is Cougar Halftime Live on the new skin, BYU Sports Network. Now, back to Jason Shepard.
Cougars down by 11 at the break, 21-10. BYU gets the ball to begin the second half. Let's jump into the Big 12 scoreboard. Everything is a final with the exception of our game, of course. Big shocker today. Kansas gets the win over number 17, Iowa State, 45-36. Iowa State with now 2 losses on the season. Number 20, Colorado goes into Lubbock and defeats Texas Tech by a final score of 41-27. The Buffaloes now 5-1 in Big 12 play. West Virginia gets the road win in Cincinnati, 31-24. Arizona State outlasts UCF, 35-31. Remember, no Scatterboo in the game for the Sun Devils, dealing with a shoulder injury. Did not play, but they beat UCF again by 4. And then TCU with the win at home over Oklahoma State by a score of 38-13. In top 25 college football, games that are going on right now, and let's make sure this has been updated because I'm not sure that is a correct score. There we go. Now we're at halftime. Number 21 Washington State leading Utah State 21-7. Another game featuring a top 25 team that certainly has implications for BYU, especially depending on how this game plays out. Number 12 Boise State. They beat Nevada, certainly not by the score most of us expected. They win by a touchdown, 28-21 over the Wolfpack, but Boise State now 5-0 in the Mountain West. Overall, they are 8-1, and remember, they are ranked 12 in the college football playoffs. Some other scores for you. Number 11, Alabama over 15th-ranked LSU, 42-13. Virginia upsets number 18, Pitt, 24-19. It was Mizzou. Crazy ending to this game. 4 touchdowns in the final 3 minutes. Mizzou gets the win over Oklahoma 30-23. Indiana stays unbeaten as they defeat Michigan 20-15. Tennessee over Mississippi State 33-14. And Georgia Tech with the upset of number 4 Miami 28-23. We'll take a break. Get you ready for the second half after this on the new skin, BYU Sports Network.
2025 marks BYU's 150th anniversary, and the BYU Salt Lake Center invites you to celebrate. Earn credits towards your bachelor's or get your master's in the heart of Salt Lake City. Enjoy an enriching educational experience with engaged instructors and smaller classes. Conveniently located near UTA tracks, frontrunner stations, and Temple Square. Wherever your educational journey leads, discover your why at slc.byu.edu.
BYU Continuing Education, inspiring lifelong learning.
For nearly 2 decades, his mother had kept a secret. Then one day, Philip Yancey discovered it. His paralyzed father had died after deciding to trust God over medicine. This agonizing circumstance set the stage for Philip's lifelong pursuit of purpose, truth, beauty, and, God willing, some kind of grace. For himself, for his family, for anyone. Acclaimed writer Philip Yancey looks back on his amazing life on the latest episode of Constant Wonder.
Let's rejoin Jason Shepard for more Cougar Halftime Live on the new skin, BYU Sports Network.
Utah 21, BYU 10. Got some work to do in the second half. But remember, BYU gets the ball to begin the third quarter. That initial drive to begin the second half is going to be massive for BYU if they are going to make a comeback in this game. All right. Second half action coming your way next. We will send you back to Rice-Eccles Stadium and rejoin Mitchell Juergens, Hans Olsen, and the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell, on the new skin, BYU Sports Network.
Second half of Cougar football on the new skin, BYU Sports Network. Let's head live to the All-Pro Capital broadcast booth. Alongside Hans Olsen, here's the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
Back in Salt Lake City's Rice-Eccles Stadium, BYU trailing 11 at halftime, 21-10. Largest comeback in the Kalani Sitake era from a halftime deficit. Back against Tennessee, they were down 10. Came back for the win. Down 10 back in 2018 as well in a separate game. So they're around the vicinity of where their comeback outside margin lies. We shall see what the Cougars do with their first possession of half number 2 and how it sets the tone for the second 30 minutes of play. Greg Wrubell and Hans Olsen up here with you. The largest halftime from comeback, the 10 points most recently done against Tennessee in 2019. So, now they were down by more, not under Kalani, but you got to go back a long time to find the last time BYU came back from down 11 or more in the third quarter of a game, which BYU will actually be in the third quarter, if not necessarily after 3. Back in 2005, they defeated New Mexico and being down 11 after 3. But as for a halftime deficit in the Kalani era, largest comeback or largest deficit overcome for a comeback win is 10. So tonight's win would be history-making in the Sitake era. We shall see if the Cougs have it in them tonight. BYU and Utah, 96th all-time meeting, 21-10. The Utes lead it.
So, Greg, I think that BYU has to find a way to get pressure off of a four-man rush. You're going to have to find a way. Whether that's a transfer with Jack Kelly walking up and dropping Isaiah Banya into coverage and letting your best pass rush artist in Jack Kelly throw a move and try to get some pressure, or going to Tyler Batty and saying, Batty, please, we're begging you, whether it's the bull rush or you hit him with some type of inside move, go get the pressure. You're going to have to manufacture it with 4 downs, Greg, because they are breaking the blitz right now. They know Jay Hill's blitz packages too well, and they've coached Brandon Rose really well to break the blitz. They're always leaving him outlets. They're never leaving him without outlets.
Trey Coleman kickoff. Keelan Marion kneels in the end zone. It'll be a touchback or calls fair catch in the end zone. Hey, we see it all the time. Games turn around dramatically in the second half. It happens all the time, every week, at every level. And we don't have to go back too far. You go back to 2018. Here, BYU led Utah 20-0 at halftime and lost that game. Utah leads BYU by 11 and can still lose this game. Of course, Utah has its home crowd, momentum, and many other things working in its favor, but it can certainly be done, and the tone can be set right here. BYU 1st and 10 at its own 25-yard line. First play of the second half. Cougs have some work to do here in Salt Lake City. Shotgun splitbacks, Martin and Ropati. Loss of 3 on the handoff to LJ. Stopped in the backfield, Keanu Tanavasa, 1 of 2 in.
Some kind of miscommunication on that offensive front. Keanu Tanavasa is basically unblocked. Nobody even touches him, and he is in the run gap, the actual formation that you're trying to get downhill in. So nobody touched Tanavasa. That is a complete meltdown up front.
2nd 13 from the BYU 22. Ball between the hash marks. BYU right to left here in quarter number 3. Cougs in all royal, Utah in all red. Utah blitzes right up the middle on Retzloff. And an incomplete pass on a bat down right in his face. Unchecked rusher.
Utah's bringing 6, and it's right off the snap. I mean, that's not even a delayed blitz. That's just bringing 6 right off the snap, and Lander Barton is going to come through between that guard and the center as fast as he possibly can, and they get in the face of Jake Retzloff. So you're getting pressure, and they're playing physical right now. Aaron Roderick's got to find a way to slow down this pressure.
BYU 1 of 4 on 3rd downs tonight. Utah 4 of 5. It's 3rd down and 13 at the BYU 22. Players lined up incorrectly with 1 on the play clock and a timeout to BYU in the first minute of the second half.
This is what you can't do. You just can't use these timeouts. This is what happened in the first half.
BYU, their first of the half, 30-second timeout.
Well, as if you needed more evidence that BYU's just not right tonight. There it is.
Well, these timeouts, you look how big they were in the first half. If you had 2 timeouts at the back end of that, you come away with at least 3 points. And these timeouts being used 1.5 minutes into the second half of this game.
Less than a minute.
Less than a minute into the second half of this game is maddening.
All right. BYU will face a 3rd and 13 coming out of the timeout, and the reason they had to call timeout was because a player was lined up on the wrong side of the field.
Yeah, so you've got alignment issues, you've got penalties, you've got flags, you've got timeout usages. BYU's got to shake free of the gunk, and they've got to find a way to convert on this 3rd and long.
Well, it was at about the very same spot on the field that Utah converted a massive 3rd and 12 in the first half. Can BYU do the same on 3rd down and 13? BYU is 1 for 14 on 3rd down and 11 to 15 this year. Empty. A fake swing to the right and a screen for a loss on the play to, I think, Darius Lassiter on the catch. Was it Lassiter? It was. And lost yards to the 15-yard line. Was that a loss of 7 on the screen?
It was a loss of at least 4 on the screen. It might have been.
Yep,
oh, geez, they're walking
20.
it back. Holy cow.
4th and 20.
Yeah, they walked that thing way back. So Utah went cover 1. It was an empty backfield for BYU. You tried to take Lassiter out of the slot, drop off the screen. They all came downhill, made the hit on Lassiter, and he turned around to try to get the yardage, and that's where they marked him down.
First time this season, BYU's punting on its first possession of the second half. Vanderhaar to the 40-yard line, a fair catch from Dorian Singer. It's the Utes facing a 60-yard field. Well, a lot of things that haven't happened all year have happened tonight. And wouldn't it be in the Utah game that these things occur? It's just it's one of those things. And for BYU, it's been one of those nights. It's 13:29 to play in the third quarter. BYU trailing 21-10. There was a flag on the play.
During the kick, personal foul, illegal blindside block, receiving team number 26, 15-yard penalty.
There you go.
That'll help.
There you go.
That'll help. Back the Utes back up to their 25-yard line. So they'll start with a longer field. BYU's defense would like to start the second half the way it did the first, forcing a 3-and-out.
Well, I go back to this BYU defense so many times, Greg. They're the ones that have flip-flopped the momentum. So you're asking your defense to do something great. Now, I've called for it once. I'm going to say it again. You've got to find a way to manufacture pressure with a 4-down system, whether that's Jack Kelly and Batty and then your 2 interiors, or putting Mangelson to the outside. Find your best pass rushers and produce pressure with 4 downs so that you can make sure you're keeping Keithy under check and Singer under check. Those 2 receivers have absolutely killed you in these offensive drives.
And when Brandon Rose throws 8 for 10, 87 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, a pass efficiency rating of 219.1. Shotgun splitbacks. Rose in the gun. 1st and 10, Utes at their own 25. They lead 21-10, 90 seconds into the second half, and now we got whistles and timeout Utah. They didn't like something.
Prior to the play clock expiring, Utah calls their first timeout of the half. 30 seconds.
So both teams have to use early timeouts in half number 2 due to the play clock about to expire. But that was weird for Utah because they were set right. Rose just took too long to get the play underway. So a timeout taken, and we'll stay right here with it.
You think about how important these timeouts are in this game. I mean, anything is possible at the back end of this half. I don't care what historically they've come back from. You know BYU can get back in this game at the blink of an eye, Greg. They've got those capabilities. When you got the speed of Lassiter and you got Chase Roberts, Jake Retzloff has dialed up some big-time plays so they can get back in this thing fast.
Yeah, and I don't mind referencing that 20-0 lead BYU had the last time they were in this building, and I believe it was a defensive score that got things turned around for the Utes early in the second half. Can the Cougs dial something similar up? Here we go, 1st and 10 from the Ute 25. Again, the shotgun split-backs formation with Bernard and Mitchell. The hand clap, the belt-high snap. The handoff to Bernard. Bernard runs through a Glasgow tackle and then moves a few other tacklers out of the way. What a run. 11, 12 yards from Mekhi Bernard on 1st and 10. And he was the punisher on that play.
It's tough because BYU's got a 7-man box, which means they've got 4 down defensive linemen, and then they've got 3 linebackers that are stacked kind of behind the defensive end, and then your middle linebacker, and they all got clogged and caught up in the middle. Nobody got outside to the scrape to make sure that picked up.
Under center goes Rose, another backup quarterback leading the Utes against BYU in the rivalry game. Handoff. Bumper card is Bernard. He gets thrown down for a lot. Maybe got 1 on the play as he was spun around between the tackles at the right hash. It'll be 2nd down and 9 from the Utah 38. The clock at 12:30 here in the third quarter. BYU's down 2 scores at 21-10.
This time BYU goes 8 men in the box. They brought another defender down. They brought their nickel down inside the box to make sure that run couldn't come through the tackles.
Rose in the gun. The tailback is Bernard. Mekhi Bernard, 10 carries, 52 yards. Rose in a clean pocket. A pass breakup intended on the far side for Singer, and Collins was the one who reached in and knocked it down. Incomplete on the PBU, and now it's 3rd down and 9. So a chance for BYU to hold here after a first down was gained on this drive by Bernard. This drive began back at the 25-yard line. The spot's the 38, so 3rd down and 9.
Excellent defense by Mark Collins. He's going to read on a man pressure, and he's going to get there before the ball gets there, and he knocks it out. BYU went with a 3-man rush. So here's what you got to be careful of. If you're going to go a 3-man rush, watch for Brandon Rose to take off out of the pocket and make sure he's accounted for.
BYU blitzes. The Cougs bring 6. Rose handles it, and incomplete through the hands of the intended receiver, Munir McLean, and he nearly had it on the double clutch. It popped out of his hands into the air, and on 4th and 9, Utah will punt away, and a Utah player is down. Is that Keithy? It is. Brant Keithy down on his chest at midfield. So we'll have a timeout with 11:56 to play in the 3rd quarter. Utes, in their first drive of the second half, get a first down but have to punt it away. They'll do so after this. Utah 21, BYU 10, early 3rd quarter from Salt Lake City on the new skin, BYU Sports Network.
All Pro Capital is loyal, strong, and true.
They really believe in putting the money back in the investors' hands. The track record that All Pro has, they've never lost a single dollar of principal. They've always paid their returns on time, as promised.
Join the white and blue. Invest in your future with All Pro Capital, who is celebrating 15 years of creating wealth. Learn more about investing in your financial future at allprocapital.com. That's allprocapital.com.
Cougar fans, it's time to gear up for the 100th season of BYU football. Show your Cougar pride as we take on the Big 12 with a lineup that's bigger and better than ever. Commemorate the 100th season with our unique collection of apparel and accessories. Get your official Big 12 merch, game day tee, and the latest Nike Authentics, just like the BYU players and coaches wear. Shop the campus store, the stadium store, or online at BYUstore.com for the widest selection of BYU clothing and accessories. The BYU Store, official outfitter of BYU fans everywhere.
It's time for BYU football with Kalani Sitake, brought to you by Intermountain Health, the official medical provider of BYU athletics.
Do that as best as you can, and when all 11 guys are on the same page, I think good things can happen for us.
Get your game day insights straight from the source as BYU head coach Kalani Sitake takes us through the latest news in our Big 12 season. New episodes every Tuesday evening at 6:30. Listen to BYU football with Kalani Sitake live on Local 107.9 and on the BYU radio app or on demand wherever you get your podcasts.
Let's head back to the All Pro Capital broadcast booth and join the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
And speaking of All Pro Capital, BYU football is brought to you by All Pro Capital. Put your money to work with smart real estate investments. Visit allprocapital.com for more information. All Pro Capital, celebrating 15 years of creating wealth. Well, we saw moments ago BYU facing a 3rd and 13, lost yards on it, punted on 4th and 20. Earlier in this game, we saw Utah convert on a 3rd down and 12, so a pair of 3rd and longs telling the story for either team tonight. This brings up the point that facing 3rd down and 11 to 15 yards this year, BYU's converted 1 of 15 tries. BYU's opponents have converted 6 of 16 tries on 3rd and 11 to 15. That's a 38% conversion rate on a very low percentage play. 3rd and longs defensively have been a major Achilles heel for BYU on the year, and certainly tonight it's one of the plays of the game.
That's kind of crazy thinking that this BYU defense has such great pass defense. You know, typically they're really good in a man coverage, and they've got some unique schemes where they can run man and they can run half-field man, and they really do a lot of mixing up. So that's pretty crazy.
It's the one defensive number that lags for BYU, 3rd down defense in general, but 3rd and long especially. But again, the Cougars came into tonight ranked only 81st in 3rd down defense, despite having great numbers pretty much everywhere else. We come back to a 4th and 9, Utah punting away from its own 38-yard line. And will the comeback effort truly get underway for BYU? High and short. Kingston will look it into his chest at the 14, not call a fair catch and take a hit as a result. I thought he would call fair on that, and it wasn't nearly as short as I thought it might be. It ended up with Kingston catching it about where he stood, and he's disgusted with himself, but It sets BYU up at the 13-yard line. 1st and 10, BYU.
Surprised he didn't fair catch that because he was being hit as that ball hit him. I mean, good job by him to seal that thing up and make sure that he didn't put it on the ground. But that's real gutsy not to call the fair catch right there.
2 receivers wide to the right, 2 to the short side, left side. BYU going right to left as we see it and you hear it. 1st and 10, Cougs at their own 13. Pistol formation. Retzloff, play fake, squares the shoulders, pressure from behind, throws as he's being hit from behind the intended receiver, Lassiter incomplete. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
Utah's running a lot of press coverage. So their defenders are all walking up on their man, and they're just locking up and running with them, and they're doing a really good job of it. Right there, Smith Snowden locked up and ran with Darius Lassiter, and there just wasn't much breathing room.
2nd and 10. BYU has won its last 2 games when trailing at halftime. Both games this season, but they are 11 and 31 when behind at the break under Kalani. 2nd and 10 at the BYU 13. A 5-step for Jake. To a wide open Keelan Marion, but too far for him to the far sideline, out of bounds, incomplete. 3rd down and 10.
Utah went cover 1, just 1 safety back, and they pressed again. They ran man, but you're going to get a receiver that opens up late, and Keelan Marion. Here's the problem. Off the right side, Braden Keim going against Van Fillinger. Van Fillinger gets the inside move, and he gets the pressure. He actually ends up getting hit on Jake Retzloff, so that pressure forced that incompletion.
Jake throwing a little earlier than he wanted to an open Keelan Marion. Now Utah, will they dial it up here on 3rd down and 10 from the BYU 13? They'll play it pretty conservative. Option pitch to the short side. Almost nowhere to go for LJ, but he ended up getting 7 on 3rd and 10. But on 4th and 3, BYU will punt it away from its own 20-yard line. So the Cougs have not gained a 1st down in the second half. Now, in winning the coin toss tonight, BYU deferred, meaning you have the chance to own the middle 8. But they did not own the final 4 of the first half and are not owning first 4 of the second half. They'll be punting it away on 4th down and 3 from the BYU 20.
The difference right now is Utah is getting pressure with a 4-man rush. BYU is not getting pressure with a 4-man rush, and that's making all the difference in what we're seeing defensively.
Vanderhaar, short, wobbler, bounces at the Utah 40, rolls to the 35, rolls to the 34. It'll be 1st and 10 Utes there after this. 10:35 to play, or are we going to break? Let's hold on 1 second. It might stay here with us. I do think we're going to keep it live as the Utes will bring the offense onto the field, and I do not think we'll be taking timeout. We'll stay here with 10:35 to play in the third. Utes leading at 21-10, so 2 possessions for BYU in the second half and no first downs. BYU has 10 for the game to Utah's 12.
Well, this is where BYU has made their money, Greg. You know, right around the 10-minute mark in the third quarter, second half miracles. This is where the defense has made big plays. You called for it in the last drive. I'm calling for it now. Bat that ball up, get yourself a pick, and make a big play.
Brandon Rose goes under center with Bernard. Play action. A lobbed pass too far to the outside for Dorian Singer at the left sideline. It'll be 2nd down and 10.
Good pressure by Tyler Batty right there. See, that's the difference. When Tyler Batty can get a little bit of a pass rusher, you can get some movement by Blake Mangelson up the middle and just a little pressure to force him to throw that ball. It makes all the difference in the world.
Officially, BYU's +1 in the turnover margin, but off their takeaway, they scored a field goal. And while not officially a turnover, off of BYU's turnover on downs, Utah scored a touchdown. So unofficially, 7-3 in points off of turnovers tonight. Late player off is Kelly for the Cougs. 2nd and 10, Utes at their own 34. Rose in a clean pocket. He throws, intercepted! There it is! Hands called for it. And at the 45-yard line, the Cougars pick off an errant pass and give themselves life. It is Crew Wakely with his 3rd career pick and 2nd of this year.
Crew Wakely is such a ball hawk. He's such a dog. He always is perfect right there in the middle of the field, and he is right there to get underneath this ball. That is a errant throw to the middle of the field where you don't even have a receiver. Crew Wakely's just there to pick that thing off.
The Cougs are now +2 in the margin. officially at 2 takeaways, 0 giveaways. Can the offense take advantage and make this a game again? 21-10. The Utes lead the Cougs. The Cougs off their second takeaway have the ball at the BYU 45-yard line. Crew Wakely giving BYU life here in Salt Lake City.
Got to capitalize off that turnover, and this offense needs to reward the defense by capitalizing on that turnover right here.
Retzloff in the gun. He's got LJ, left hip, right hip. Trips left. They'll motion Roberts left to right. He's the lone man on the right side. 2 defenders to his side. Thigh-high snap. Jake guns it, and behind Marion. Marion ran the post, and at the 35-yard line, he's open, and Jake throws behind him. Retzloff now 10 for 20 through the air for 99. No touchdowns, no picks. A sub-100 pass efficiency rating at 91.6.
It's a good job by the offensive line giving Jake Retzloff time, and that was a 4-man rush. You saw a nice snatch move by Austin Leusa to put his defender in the ground. And Jake just a little bit off on that throw, Greg, just a little inaccurate.
Retzloff 1 for his last 5. 2nd and 10, Cougs. Martin busts a gap. LJ, 40, 30, tackled, 15-yard line. BYU in the red zone, Cougs in business. LJ Martin got second level in a hurry and sets BYU up in the red zone.
That's a cover 0. So they took their safety out of the game. They brought the nickel down. There's not a safety deep. You've got everybody at the line of scrimmage. So once you break the gap, you've got a runaway opportunity. Cover 0, and you just broke it with an L.J. Martin run right up the middle. Martin becomes the game's leading rusher now. 63 on the night, 39 on the carry. His long run of the year. Play fake. Jake looks, settles, and throws it through the back of the end zone. Throws it away, 2nd and 10. Chase Roberts was the intended receiver, never broke open. And now BYU facing a 2nd and 10 at the Utah 15-yard line. The Cougs, remember, were in the red zone with a 1st and goal from the 5. Got only a field goal out of it. Those remain the only points for which the offense is responsible tonight. And now it'll be the new formation for BYU, a full house pistol. Quarterback in the gun, pistol back Moa behind Retzloff, and then running backs on either side of Retzloff. Martin and Ropati. Play clock down to 5. The snap. Jake. The option pitch back to Moa. Moa gets inside the 10 to the 9. A gain of 6. It'll be 3rd down and 4. Now the question is Aaron Roderick viewing this as 4-down territory? Sure he is. And I really like that pistol formation. That's a bit of a change-up right there. And you gave 2 option looks. There was the keeper, there was the handoff, but then the pitch over to Moa.
And you have to ask the 4th down question, Hans, because BYU's 1 for 6 on 3rd downs.
Yeah.
3rd down and 5 from the 10. The line to gain is the 5. Retzloff gun. Hinckley will vacate to empty on quads to the right, and a flag flies near side. The throw to Hinckley to the 10, the 9, tackled at the 6. But a flag flew.
I think that's illegal motion.
And a Cougar team has been penalized 7 times already tonight. May see number 8 bring this back. And the line to gain was not gained, so the question now is accept or decline the penalty.
Illegal shift.
Yeah.
Offense. 5-yard penalty. Repeat 3rd down.
Now, let's note this. It's a 3rd and 10 instead of a 4th and about 2. So the choice, the play was allowed to run. So there was an option to decline the penalty. Yes, because the play was allowed to run.
Yes, there was.
Yep. So, 3rd down and 10 from the Utah 15. Play clock at 12 as the Utes sub defensively. BYU still in the huddle. With 8 and with 7, they break it. They get to the line. Retzloff, not a lot of time if he wants to audible. Down to 3, to 2, to 1, and they're not going to get the playoff. Timeout is called by BYU.
Prior to the play clock expiring, timeout, BYU.
Second time BYU's had to call timeout here in the second half, getting too late in the play clock. Utah taking its time as it's allowed to do subbing, and the ball was not cleared for play. The official was still over the ball as the play clock hit 0.
Well, when you substitute, so if I take an offensive player off the field and rotate a different offensive player on the field, that allows the defense to then substitute. and they are not forced to hustle off the field. They can take their time and slowly get out there, and that official is going to cover the ball until that defender is in position. So it's actually a tactic by defenses when you see an offensive formation or you see an exchange to slow it down and force them into the late play clock.
And so it is that less than halfway through the third quarter, BYU's already used 2 of its second half timeouts. BYU just a little bit with a lack of sharpness and clarity at some pretty key moments, setting up a 3rd down and 10 from the Utah 15. BYU with 2 receiving options left, 2 receiving options right, and a back row Patti joining Retzloff in the backfield. Now they vacate for empty. Jake, quick fire, and bat down, incomplete. 4th down and 10 from the 15. BYU will bring the field goal team in to make it an 8-point game. The Cougs have not been successful in the red zone tonight on offense. A 1st and goal from the 5, field goal. A first and 10 from the 15, field goal try. And the red zone failures are one of the storylines at the moment. 8:16 to play in the third. And Farron must make to give BYU something good out of a second takeaway. 33-yarder left hash. Farron swings the leg and puts it through for 3. So the Cougs do have 2 picks, but after each interception, only a field goal, and both possessions got into the red zone. The score is now 21-13. Yes, it's a one-score game, but it's a one-score with an asterisk because a 2-point conversion will be needed to tie the game at 21 should it be in that scenario. We will take a break. 8:10 to play in the third. Utah 21, BYU 13. Signs of life for the Cougs here in Salt Lake City on the new skin, BYU Sports Network.
And now for the Doug Smith Kia to the game.
Okay, the key to BYU winning this game.
No, not key to the game. Kia to the game.
What?
Doug Smith Kia. Like the all-new electric EV6 or the 7-passenger Sorrento. Doug Smith's got all kinds of Kias to the game.
What makes it a Kia to the game?
Well, Tom, my echoey voice.
That's just...
Thank you for listening. Once again, this has been Doug Smith's Kia to the game.
Game Day Promos is a proud sponsor of BYU Athletics. We have spent years helping to build the Cougar brand by specializing in providing customizable promotional products like apparel, blankets, balls, and so much more. But we don't stop there. Game Day Promos offers marketing and promotional products that can be customized to assist your business with all your promotional needs, leaving a lasting impression that is sure to wow your customers. Game Day Promos, beyond sports, beyond expectations.
Fly sweep, takes the handoff and takes it in the end zone.
You're listening to BYU Football on BYU Radio.
BYU Radio, more than just radio, it's an experience. Tune in and experience the Lisa Show.
It's just too easy to fall into the trap of believing that other people are doing it right.
Constant Wonder.
No plan B, I was going to be a turtle artist.
The Appleseed.
A 100-foot fall will kill you, even on a good day.
Kaboom.
In my perfect human disguise.
In Good Faith.
If you just define what you mean by that.
And Top of Mind.
Boys and men in America have been falling behind.
Take a journey with BYU Radio, wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to BYU Football on the new skin, BYU Sports Network.
This pigskin scoring summary is brought to you by your Utah pork producers and Daly's Meats. For every point BYU scores, your Utah pork producers and Daly's Meats will donate 75 servings of nutritious protein to the Utah Food Bank to help Utah families in need. For more information on points for protein, follow Utah Pork Producers Association on Facebook and Instagram. That scoring summary shows 39 yards, 6 plays, 2:14 off the clock. The drive ending in a 33-yard Will Farron field goal. Down to Mitchell Juergens in the Zions Bank end zone. Mitch.
Yeah, just want to comment on the crowd and the atmosphere here at Rice Eccles. I mean, this noise is making it pretty complicated for this offense. They're bringing it on, and not just third down, but almost every down the offense is together. They're bringing the noise. You can hear it now. You've seen, we've commented on the penalties, the false starts, the delays in getting out of the huddle. That's clearly the noise just getting to this offense. They got to find a way to better communicate because they can't afford any more of those costly penalties.
Thank you, Mitch. Mitchell Juergens in the Zions Bank end zone for banking that goes the extra yard. Zions Bank is for you. As for the penalties, BYU's season high in a single game is 9 at Wyoming. They're already at 8 with 8:10 to play in the third quarter. BYU will kick off from right to left, south to north here in Salt Lake City. 21-13. BYU down a single score, touchdown and 2-point conversion, mind you, into and through the end zone for a touchback. It'll be Utah 1st and 10 at the Utes own 25-yard line. Well, the BYU defense last time getting a pick that turned into 3 points. BYU has the only 2 takeaways in this game. They also have a special teams touchdown. Those numbers would tend to favor a team, but BYU still plays from behind in this one. Mekhi Bernard, after looking like he might be an injury casualty in this game, has rushed 10 times for 52 yards. A long run of 12. L.J. Martin leads all ground gainers with 63 on 8, with his 39-yard run being the big play of the last drive. All right, Brandon Rose in the gun. A motion, a tight end. Fake a swing to him, have Rose run middle, and he gets to the 30 for a gain of 5 before he's brought down 2nd and 5. Brandon Rose has 49 rushing yards.
One thing we need to watch for is Brant Keithy. Brant Keithy went down. He was away from the play, and he went down and laid on the field for quite a while. I don't see him in the last 2 personnel groups that I've seen here for the University of Utah. So Brant Keithy not currently on the field.
Wide receivers left and right. Double tight left. And the back Bernard with Rose. Mekhi will take the handoff, get caught up in the backfield. Nelson the first to get a wrap around the waist. He's joined by 2 other Cougars to bring Bernard down inside the 30 for a loss of 1. Maybe no gain on the play. It'll officially be 3rd and 5, but 3rd and a long 5. So a massive 3rd down play for BYU on defense coming right up. Let's call this a power play of the game, brought to you by Hyundai and the full lineup of Hyundai all-wheel drive SUVs. See your Utah Hyundai dealers. BYU needs some power on 3rd down and 5. A power play of the game for the BYU defense. Rose in the gun. He will throw on 3rd and 5. Sets and guns, and it is cut! Another 3rd down conversion to the 45-yard line, gain of 15. Utah is now 5 for 7 on 3rd downs. BYU is 1 for 7. If Utah wins this game, you will look right to that number. It's been a problem for BYU all year. It's a problem tonight.
And it was
3rd down defense.
It was Dorian Singer again, and he's in man coverage with Mark Collins running into zone. And it's just a well-timed, well-placed ball. But Dorian Singer's he's got a lot of speed.
The backup quarterback making big-time play after big-time play. Yes, he's thrown 2 picks, but what a throw by Rose, who runs for 3 and 4 on 1st and 10. And now the clock is something Kyle Whittingham uses to his team's advantage with an 8-point lead and 6 minutes to play in the 3rd. The ball near midfield, the 49-yard line of Utah. 2nd down and 6.
Utah pulls their left guard to Noah Tagiai around, and he's actually able to pick up Harrison Taggart, and you see Rose tucks right in behind him for those 4 yards.
Rose gun. BYU may need a 3rd takeaway in this game. Straight up handoff, up the middle, met in the hole by Isaiah Banya. Is Mekhi Bernard gets nothing. It'll go to 3rd down and 6. They gave him a yard on the spot, almost a yard, so we'll call it 3rd and a long 5.
What a beautiful
line to gain is the BYU 45.
Beautiful play by John Nelson. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. Now he's off the right side and he fights across the center.
But 3rd down.
And he's going to get into that far side gap to get that stop. That's a great fight by John Nelson.
5 for 7 on 3rd down of the Utes. Tight twins left. Tight end and a wide receiver right. Rose sees some pressure, runs out of it to the far side, dumps it off, another 3rd down conversion. The tight end, Carson Ryan, hauls it in for a gain of 6 on 3rd and 5, and BYU cannot get off the field on 3rd downs. That's 6 for 8 on the money down tonight for Utah.
Well, I'm still not seeing Brant Keithy on the field, but Carson Ryan is
well, the Utes already used 6 tight ends anyway.
Yeah, he's another solid tight end option. And right there, you can't allow Brandon Rose to get out to the outside that easy. There's got to be contained and somebody to force him back inside and force that throw.
4:20 to go in the third. Utah 21, BYU 13. Play clock at 4. The Utes going wisely deep into the play clock. A sprint right, an evasive move by Brandon Rose. Ends up with no gain as he dives ahead. He's brought down backside by Viliami Pouha. But Rose had already escaped Pouha's grasp in the backfield. Squirts ahead for a single yard. And now they'll mark the ball back for no gain. So it'll go to 2nd down and 10. They may even give him a loss of a quarter yard on that play.
That's a great athletic move by Pouha. He's on the outside, and he actually takes the juke, and you see him kind of put on the skids, and he turns himself back around and chases Brandon Rose down. That's a lot of athleticism right there.
When you're a team on a 4-game losing streak, never too early to look at clock, and the Utes are running it deep in the play clock again. The game clock at 3:30, 2nd and 10 at the BYU 43. It's empty for Rose. Lofts it up down the far sideline, and it is just beyond the outstretched fingertips of the intended receiver. Was that Bernard on the wheel? It was, all the way into the end zone.
Cover 1, BYU's got 1 safety deep, and you try to go man on man. Isaiah Glasker is actually running man on man with Bernard on the outside. He's almost keeping stride with him, but Bernard did have a step. That ball was just on the outside reach of Bernard.
3rd down and 10 at the BYU 43. If the Utes get nothing here, you're in punt and pin territory. That feels like a Kyle thing to do with the 21-13 lead. Let's wait for 3rd and 10. First up in the gun is Rose. Glover off his right hip. The handoff is to Glover, and Glover got to the 40 is all. A gain of 3, 4th and 7. And so from the 40, wouldn't be surprised to see the punt team here on a punt and pin situation. Rose jogs toward the sideline, punt team jogs on, so Utah will indeed do just that. One thing we haven't seen from this great special teams unit for BYU this year is a blocked punt. They've done pretty much everything else you can do to make an impact on special teams, including a kickoff return touchdown tonight. Parker Kingston will wait inside his 10, let anything inside the 10 likely go over his head and ideally into the end zone for a touchback. It'll be a gain of only 19 yards if that's the outcome. The punt by Bomeister, and take something off it to the far side, and it will be out of bounds inside the 10 to the 6-yard line. So the Utes accomplish their objective. The spot will be the 5. BYU facing a 95-yard field. When we come back, we'll take time out. 2:33 to go in the third. Still plenty of time, and the Cougars down only a single score. BYU's had so many memorable wins already this year. Will this be another one? We've got an exciting 17 and a half minutes of football left to play here in Salt Lake City. We take a break with the Utah Utes leading the BYU Cougars 21-13. It's the rivalry game on the new skit, BYU Sports Network.
Utahns love staying active, and Intermountain Healthcare is here to help keep it that way. Because maybe you can't lift 500-pound plates like a lineman, but you might have what it takes to scale Olympus. Maybe you got 3-foot range instead of 3-point, but you can handle 3 feet of powder. It's a way of life. And if there's ever a setback, we're here to get the Cougs and you back out there. Intermountain Healthcare, official medical provider for BYU Athletics. Learn more at intermountainsportsmed.org.
Nobody believed that BYU would win the 1984 championship. Nobody but the team, the die-hard fans, and the ones who dared to dream big. Relive the 1984 season like never before with exclusive, untold stories from Lavelle Edwards' family, sports writers who covered the season and players. An exclusive look inside BYU's national championship win, available at Deseret.com/1984.
What a play! That was spectacular!
You're listening to BYU Football on BYU Radio.
Hi, I'm Sam Payne, host of The Appleseed, where great stories bring us together. And I want to let you know what's coming up on the next hour of storytelling from BYU Radio. You'll hear stories from the great storyteller Bill Harley and Angela Lloyd, 2 stories you'll love, and an introduction to a new podcast called Constant Wonder Kids. You won't want to miss it. Join us right here or Google The Appleseed Podcast or download the BYU Radio app.
You're listening to Big 12 Football on the new skin, BYU Sports Network.
BYU fans, don't miss out on the greatest cruise ever. Cruising with the Cougs in April of 2025, an entire ship reserved just for BYU fans. Check out BYUcruise.com to reserve your cabin today. Utah may have just helped BYU out a little bit. 3rd down and 10 for Utah on BYU side of the field, and the Utes ran a very conservative play that netted only 3 yards on a run, and they punted BYU and pinned. I mention that because on 3rd down passing tonight, Brandon Rose is 4 for 5 for 65 yards. They took the ball out of his hands on a 3rd and 10. It's not 3rd and forever. It's 3rd and 10 on BYU side of the field. 4 of 5, 65 on 3rd downs. They don't do anything with it. They run and punt the ball to BYU. Conversely, BYU on 3rd down passing, 2 for 4 for 2 yards. And 3rd downs have been massive tonight in the story of this game. Utah 6 for 9, BYU 1 for 7. So let's remember that 3rd down play. Should BYU, let's say, march down the field and score in a 95-yard field they now face. 1st and 10 from the BYU 5-yard line. The Cougs down 21-13 to Utah.
And let's be mindful of who those 4 completions were to. At least 3 of them were to Dorian Singer on those big 3rd downs for the University of Utah. So make sure you press on him. Brant Keithy has not been out there for Utah. When you take Brant Keithy off, you don't have to bracket. That can leave you an extra defender. That would be huge for BYU's defense.
Jake Retzloff, who's been so good this season, not having a good night at the moment. 10 for 22, 1 for 7 in this half. It's time for Jake and the Cougs. The handoff to LJ. LJ has to sidestep. A stiff arm gives him some room to the far side, and LJ will get a gain of 5 where there was nothing, and maybe a loss on the play facing him on the run to the left. A great stiff arm to put himself to the other side of the field and go out of bounds at the 10-yard line for a gain of 5. That's a big run where it could have been a 2nd and long for BYU, now 2nd and 5.
Great job just putting the stiff arm right on the helmet of Van Fillinger and then getting the outside. Crinny Reed finally ushers him out, but that's a big gain out of absolutely nothing.
2nd and 5, Retzloff gun. Motion, Roberts left to right. Jake will look middle. Throw wide open, Keelan Marion. 1st down and more. Keelan to the 30-yard line. A gain of 20 on 2nd and 5, and BYU driving it out from deep in its own territory to the 30, already 25 yards gained on the possession. 1:40 to go in the 3rd. It's a 1-score game. BYU need a touchdown or a 2-point conversion to tie it up. But the Cougs are on the comeback trail. Can they do it again? They've done it a couple of times this year in dramatic fashion. 21-13 Utes. 1st and 10 Cougs at their own 29. LJ Martin off the right hip of Retzloff. BYU no giveaways on the night. They do have a turnover on downs that turned into a Utah touchdown. 5-second play clock. Hand clap. Jake, play fake. Deep drop. Now steps up. Room to run, but he throws on the run and threw low. Did Lassiter make the catch? Yes! At the 44-yard line of Utah. If that's a higher throw, that was JoJo. Was it JoJo or Darius on the reception? It was Lassiter.
Darius.
If that's a higher throw, Darius may be down the sideline with that.
Up the sideline, but you got Jake Retzloff, who thought about running it. He almost took off running. He would have made the first with the run, but he lasered it late at the line of scrimmage.
2 for 2 on the drive. Jake now in the gun. 1st and 10 Cougs at the Utah 44. Takes 5 steps, steps up and guns. Complete to Chase. 20, 15, 12-yard line. The BYU fans are heard here in Salt Lake City.
So it's a 5-man rush, and Chase Roberts is going to find himself in the deep post, and that's a really good job by Jake Retzloff to release in a pretty good pocket.
Feels like the first time tonight the Utah defense is on its heels. 13, make it 12-yard line of Utah. The Utes will sub late tactically. The play clock is at 18. BYU has only 1 timeout to burn. What's happened? That's the final play of the 3rd quarter. We're taking our end of quarter break.
That's the end of the 3rd quarter.
So we will bring you the final 15 minutes from Salt Lake City with the Utes on top 21-13, but BYU driving. The red zone has not been kind to BYU tonight. Can the Cougars turn the tables, get in for 6, and make this a game again? Come back with us and find out. Through 3 quarters of play, it is Utah 21 and BYU 13 on the new skin, BYU Sports Network.
I am your tech-savvy AI assistant.
At Hyundai, all our 2024 models offer tech-savvy features, like available digital key and complimentary BlueLink Plus. It's user-friendly technology.
I'm friendly.
Can you figure out time travel?
Yes.
It's your journey. Own every mile.
Test drive a new Hyundai today at your local Hyundai dealer, where every Hyundai comes standard with America's best warranty, plus 3 years or 36,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. Visit buyhyundai.com to find the dealer nearest you. It's your journey. Own every mile in a brand new Hyundai. Call 562-314-4603 for details.
Like the BYU Cougars, Zions Bank has a long, storied history and a loyal fan base. But we're more than just your bank. We're your neighbors. With more than 120 branches to serve you throughout Utah and Idaho, coupled with the convenience of mobile banking in the palm of your hand, we're here for you, wherever you are. For all of your personal and business banking needs, visit us online at zionsbank.com or stop by your local Zions Bank branch to meet with a banker in person. Let us show you all the ways. Zions Bank is for you.
When it comes to radio, connection is one of Lisa Valentine Clark's favorite things.
The Cougars play in the Big 12 on the new skin, BYU Sports Network.
BYU football from Salt Lake City takes a 10-second break for station identification on the new skin, BYU Sports Network.
This is BYU Radio on KBYU FM HD2 Provo. You're listening to BYU football on BYU Radio.
BYU fans, Chick-fil-A's Honey Pepper Pimento Sandwich is back, and don't forget to try their brand new banana pudding milkshake. Chick-fil-A, eat more chicken. I had one of their Honey Pepper Pimento Sandwiches just this very afternoon. It is Utah 21, BYU 13. First play of the fourth quarter. BYU has won its last 5 games when scoring in every quarter, and BYU scored in every quarter tonight. Can they do so now in the fourth? BYU's won 11 games in a row scoring first. BYU scored first tonight. BYU has won 9 in a row with a positive turnover margin, and BYU has a positive turnover margin tonight. So the trends are all playing in BYU's favor. Can the Cougs make the play on the field match here in the fourth quarter? It is 21-13 Utes. Greg Wrubell, Hans Olsen upstairs. Mitchell Juergens in the Zions Bank end zone for banking that goes the extra yard. Zions Bank is for you. BYU is outgaining Utah now, 275-229. 177-109 through the air. Utes the rushing advantage, 120-98. First downs are even, 14 apiece. Total plays are even, 42 plays apiece. Utah does have a 5-minute possession time edge. As we come back in, it is BYU, a 1st and 10 in the red zone. The Cougs 2 red zone drives tonight, Hans, 2 field goals. BYU needs a touchdown.
Well, what I want to see in this one, because we haven't seen it, Jake Retzlaff has 2 carries for -1 yard so far in this game. Jake Retzlaff is a running threat. If they fall asleep, Jake needs to keep that ball and get himself off the edge. Remember, Jake can do a lot of work with his feet. And I think right now this Utah defense is not expecting it. It's been handoffs to LJ. It's been hits to yo-yo motions. It's been quick slants to Darius Lassiter. How about you keep one for Jake Retzlaff and let him do some work with his feet?
This drive began at the BYU 5. It's at the Utah 12. First down and 10. First play of the fourth quarter. Jake Retzlaff is in the gun. Hinckley Ropati off his left hip. Motion left to right. Jake will keep and get hung up in the backfield, fall ahead for a yard outside left tackle. So it's 2nd down and 9 from the 12. BYU having its red zone issues tonight. From the 11, they gave him a yard for 2nd and 9. The ball at the far hash, BYU left to right. Can the Cougs pay off this long drive? Well, what matters most?
I called for the Jake Retzlaff keep. He did keep it. He just didn't get the yardage I was hoping for, but he can still run it and make that possible.
Trips to the right side, including a tight end, Tasse. He's been the touchdown maker in the red zone. Jake's in an empty backfield. Tasse will motion from right to left. He'll block for Jake. Jake runs middle, trying to feel his way forward. Jake, a sidestep. He fumbles and falls on it shy of the line to gain. Oh, my goodness. 2 Utes around him. The Cougs keep possession but need 4 yards for a first down. Jake made a beautiful move to get near the 5-yard line. Then the ball was stripped loose, and now from the 6, it is 3rd down and 4. And the Cougs struggling so mightily on 3rd downs tonight if there was ever a time for a conversion. BYU 1 for 7 on 3rd down. It's 3rd and 4 from the Utah 6. What will the Cougs dial up? Marion and Roberts split wide side left. Trips to the right, short side. Now they'll bring one of those players, Ropati, back into the backfield. Retzloff gun. Slow motion toss. Jake hands off Hinckley. Hinckley lowers the helmet and did not get there. A middle run setting up a 4th down and 2. BYU on 3rd down is 1 for 8. But that was the kind of play that you run if you're going for it on 4th down, as BYU will do. It's a 4th and 2. BYU was already missed on a 4th and 1 tonight. 3rd down and 4 and a run for 2 up the middle, setting up 4th and 2. BYU down 21-13. Already 2 minutes gone here in the 4th. Lassiter and Marion are a twin stack left. BYU scurries to the line. Give Hinckley, dives for the plane. Did he get there? The signal is down at the 1. What a run on 4th and 2. Full head of steam. Did not score, but it's 1st and goal from the 1. And BYU will get right back to the line. The Cougs bring in a tight formation. Retzloff will go under center with Ropati, the tailback. 1st and goal from the 1. Quarterback sneak. Jake dives for the plane. Touchdown! Touchdown, Jake Retzloff. And the Cougs draw to within 2. With 12:35 to play, the Cougs have only gone for 2 once this season and converted at SMU with Keanu Hill. And now a BYU player is down on the ground at the goal line. It is Austin Leusa, injured on the play. The signal is touchdown. 21-19, our new score. And BYU will certainly go for 2. The concern now is for Leusa.
How many times have we called for the quarterback sneak? Jake Retzloff's going to get right under center. He's going to come under Bruce Mitchell, get the snap, and he's going to force himself right over the top of that Utah defense and just barely sneak it past the plane. Now, Leusa is running a pinch technique, so he's firing down to make sure he's forcing that sneak. But he's starting to get up now, Greg.
What a gutsy call on 4th and 2, just straight ahead run. They ran the same play on 3rd and 2 and 4th and 2 essentially, and 4th and 2 and 1st and goal, I should say, and score with Retzloff. Now, that's a Mountain America Credit Union touchdown by the offense for the first time tonight. That's another $250 donated to the American Red Cross, courtesy of Mountain America. So 21-19, 12:35 to play, still an eternity, and a timeout is on the field, so we will take it. BYU will go for 2 and look to go 2 for 2 on 2-point tries after this on the new skin, BYU Sports Network.
All Pro Capital is loyal, strong, and true.
They really believe in putting the money back in the investors' hands. The track record that All Pro has, they've never lost a single dollar of principal. They've always paid their returns on time, as promised.
Join the white and blue. Invest in your future with All Pro Capital, who is celebrating 15 years of creating wealth. Learn more about investing in your financial future at allprocapital.com. That's allprocapital.com.
Looking for the perfect place to stay while visiting Provo? We've got you covered at Hyatt Place, located in the heart of downtown Provo. At the Hyatt Place, we understand that every trip has a purpose, and every stay should be an opportunity to recharge and make the next day more successful than the one before. Just like our Cougars never settle for anything but a win, neither do we. You'll see why BYU, fans, and preferred partners stay with us year after year. Hyatt Place Provo, where guests like you are our top priority. Proud sponsor of BYU Athletics. Go Cougs!
Runs through a tackle, first down and more.
You're listening to BYU Football on BYU Radio.
I'm Julie Rose from Top of Mind. 100,000 people are waiting for an organ transplant in the U.S. Most of them need kidneys, and some advocates say we could get that number down to 0 by paying people to donate one. But
do we really want to become a country that we have a whole class of people who donate their organs to pay for things, and we have a whole class of people who buy them?
Is it possible to compensate organ donors ethically? Listen to Top of Mind on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts.
Now back to Hans Olsen and the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell, on the new skin, BYU Sports Network.
Cougar football brought to you by Siegfried & Jensen. Siegfried & Jensen has been helping Utah families for over 30 years. Learn more at siegfriedandjensen.com. Dating back to 2022, BYU's been good on 3 of its last 4 2-point tries. The Cougars are down to 21-19. BYU thought it would be up 1 at this point, thinking it would have had a shot at a field goal to end the first half, but things went sideways at the end of the second quarter, putting BYU a little bit behind the 8 ball in the second half. But the Cougs have responded well, outscoring Utah 6-0 in the third, and here early in the fourth, a chance to go for 2 to make it a tie ball game. Again, earlier in this year, Keanu Hill converted a 2-point try at SMU to put BYU from down 5 to up 3.
This is Tavatase and Keanu Hill territory. They love to use their tight ends and layered routes, and they like delayed routes where they chip the tight end off the edge and roll them right into the seam. So I'm looking for that type of route. Not expecting the run. I'm expecting some type of Jake Retzloff extended pocket rollout and maybe something into Tasse with this empty backfield.
Roberts, Marion, Lassiter left, 2 to the right. Keanu Hill the lone tight in the set. And Jake will throw interception in the end zone. Picked off by Crawford. He comes out to the 24-yard line. They threw quickly to Keanu Hill, I believe the intended receiver, picked off in the end zone. And the Cougs stay down 21-19.
So here's the deal. Greg, if I know what the receiving threat is, you can dang well guarantee yourself that they know what the receiving threat is. So you're going to press on that comeback, and you're right there for the interception. That's just really good coverage by Camion Calhoun, who's able to pick that thing off. But that throw needs to be just a little bit taller. Keanu Hill's behind Camion. You need to put it up a little bit higher and behind that defender.
The last 5 2-point tries for BYU have all been passes, and 2-pointers in that end zone, as I think back to that Taysom Hill play years ago, just haven't gone BYU's way now, have they? So Cameron Crawford with the pick, and BYU trails 21-19. That missed chance to kick a field goal at the end of the second quarter looming ever larger at the moment. Yet there's still so much time left on the clock. 12:35 to play. BYU's defense will see if it can muster a 3-and-out and keep momentum on the Cougars' side. You get momentum with a touchdown, you lose it with the pick in the end zone, and now the defense will be on the field. Will Farron to boot it away for the Cougs. It's a back spinner, it's returnable. Smith Snowden from the 5 gets the 10. Hemmed in at the sideline, squeezes past the 25. It'll be 1st and 10 Utah.
One thing that you got to start to really pay attention to, BYU's used 2 of their timeouts through the first 3 quarters through the first quarter of this second half. So you're down to 1 timeout. You got to be really mindful of what you're doing here with 12 minutes and 29 seconds left in the fourth quarter.
Brandon Rose just 2 of 7 this half with a pick. And my guess is they're going to see if Mekhi Bernard can carry the load for their new quarterback, nursing a 2-point lead here in the fourth quarter.
Well, it hurts to not have Brant Keithy out there for them.
Bernard off the right hip of Rose. The hand clap. Hand off Bernard. Room to the outside. First down and more. What a run by Mekhi Bernard. Running through tackle after tackle after tackle to the 41-yard line. A 16-yard run on 1st and 10.
The first touch comes right at the line of scrimmage by Harrison Taggart. The second touch comes about 4 yards past the line of scrimmage. And then it takes Isaiah Glasker to finally bring him down for that long gain. But a lot of defenders getting their hands on him before he comes down.
Now the game's leading rusher at 69 yards. Utah going late in the clock, as they should do, but the snap comes with 12 on the play clock. Bernard always has a way after initial contact of finding more than there is there for him.
He doesn't. There's a hold.
It's a 4-yard gain, and Tyler Batty was adamant that he was being held on that.
That was a big-time hold. Batty was kind of coming down inside, and he was trying to fight back to the outside, and he's actually being drugged by his jersey.
And Dallin Bentley, the tight end, with as obvious a hold as you're going to have, and it goes uncalled.
It's crazy, Greg, because I'm watching the trench, obviously, but if I can see it from 300 feet away, you've got an official that's right down the line. He should be able to see that hold.
Just a brutal no call. 11-11 to go in the game, 21-19 Utes. Rose, shotgun snap, handoff Bernard, and look who tracks him down, Jack Kelly. What a great close for a loss on the play of 4 from 2nd and 6 to 3rd and 10. So here comes your biggest third down defensive play of the game for BYU, and the third downs have been problematic, and BYU needs a stop right about now. 6 for 9 are the Utes on third down. This will be a 3rd down and 10 from the Utah 41-yard line. The Cougs with a stop here.
Well,
keep momentum they gained with a touchdown moments ago to make it a 2-point game. The 2-point failure sets the Utes up, and their drive after a first down now faces a 3rd down and 10.
I'm going to bracket on Dorian, but I'm bringing extra heat. I'm bringing at least 5.
Glover is the tailback. Rose in the gun, claps the hands, chest high snap, clean pocket, bouncing on the balls of his feet. Now forced to his left. It goes. Oh, he escapes the sack and throws away. Oh, and that was the best case scenario for Utah. He was nearly going down in the backfield, ran out of the sack and threw it away, out of play into the Utah team area. The clock will stop with 10:13 to go, but the takeaway is this. Utah does not convert on 3rd down, and BYU will get the football with a chance to take a lead in the fourth quarter. 10-13 to play.
John
Utah
Nelson.
21 and BYU 19. It's a 4th and 10. Utes at their own 41.
John Nelson had that sack, Greg. He had him, but then Jack Kelly came up and forced that pass.
The Cougs still have no sacks on the night. Bomeister slips and falls as he punts. Parker Kingston backpedaling. Oh, and it doesn't go in. Oh, it does. Oh, Parker backpedaled to the 2. I thought, is he going to catch it? No, he wisely waves it off, but it bounced at the 1, appeared to check up, but no. The bounce took it into the end zone. From my vantage point, tough to tell, again, 300 feet away, it looked like a checkup.
It did. It leaked in off the left side, but it definitely did check up at about the 2, maybe 3-yard line, and then bounced another 4 or 5 yards into the end zone.
So it'll be to the 20-yard line. BYU at its own 20 will face an 80-yard field. Won't need to go all 80 to go take a lead, though. It's a 2-point game. Field goal puts you in front. The Cougs will be looking for more, though, after this. 10:04 to go at Rice-Eccles Stadium. Utes 21, Cougs 19. Jake Retzloff in the offense with the football next on the new skin, BYU Sports Network.
Ebenezer Scrooge, you have yet a chance of escaping my fate. Humbug. You still have time to get a Mountain America Rewards credit card and earn 3 times the points on every dollar spent, but only through the stroke of midnight on December 31st.
I suppose I can learn to enjoy the holidays with triple rewards.
Apply today and learn more at macu.com/triple.
Membership required based on eligibility. Loans on approved credit offer can change or be withdrawn at any time. Limited time offer. Business cards not eligible.
From business matters to family matters, from legal advice to litigation, Fillmore Spencer is your full-service law firm headquartered just a mile north of LaBelle Edwards Stadium on University Avenue, with branch offices in Salt Lake and St. George. Top-rated lawyers consistently voted Utah Valley's favorite law firm. With its broad legal expertise, Fillmore Spencer can play offense or defense and even provide a little coaching. Fillmore Spencer, solving problems and seizing opportunities for you, your family, and your business.
The dive, the touchdown!
You're listening to BYU Football on BYU Radio.
Hi, it's Elaine Bradley. I hope you'll join me each week for Grace Notes on BYU Radio. I talk with singers, songwriters, and musicians about the source of their inspiration. You'll hear from talented artists who represent a wide variety of religious backgrounds, and they all perform from the heart.
Join Elaine Bradley Sunday for Grace Notes with special guest Unspoken and Kiara Sheard. For more information about Grace Notes, go to the BYU Radio app.
You're listening to BYU Football on the new skin, BYU Sports Network. Here's Jason Shepard with a scoreboard update.
Look, it's late, but there is another top 25 team playing, and it involves a local team as well. It's number 21 Washington State hosting Utah State, and the Cougars leading the Aggies 35-14 as they begin the fourth quarter in Pullman. Let's get back up to Salt Lake City and rejoin the voice of the Cougars, Greg Wrubell.
Thank you, Jason. What do the 1984 BYU Cougars and Hotel Park City both have in common? They were voted number one. Hotel Park City voted number one. Hotel, steak, spa, and lunch in Park City's best awards. You've got one of the best in your own backyard, so book your Hotel Park City stay today. BYU first down and 10 at its own 20-yard line. 10:04 to go in a game the Cougs trail by 2, 21-19 Hens.
This drive is so important because you've got one timeout left and you've got 10 minutes in the fourth quarter. You do not have the timeouts to get yourself in a time crunch.
LJ Martin has had a good game. He's off the right hip of Jake, who claps the hands, takes a wayward snap off his left hip and lobs it up intended for Lassiter. Darius can't catch up to it. Incomplete on the deep ball down the left sideline, 2nd and 10.
Chase Roberts is going to be in the slot. He's coming across in a deep post, coming across the field, and Darius Lassiter is just running a go to the outside, and Jake Retzloff lets it go, see if Darius Lassiter could get underneath it. But you're just trying to spread out this Utah defense a little bit. You probably come back to it now and go run to Rapati or Zach Martin.
LJ in the backfield. Jake's under center. Jet sweep give to Marion to the short side. Nothing there. He is thrown down by Lander Barton. So from 2nd and 10 to 3rd and 11. The deep shot on first down, setting up a 2nd and 10. The jet sweep for nothing. In fact, a loss of 1, and now BYU facing a 3rd down and 11.
That is kind of the Aaron Roderick go-to. If you're going to throw deep on first down, Greg, he typically will go to the run. And the defense wasn't biting it at all. You had that jet sweep that worked in the first quarter, but it shut down. Utah was staying wide on their defense.
If BYU loses tonight, 3rd down will be one of the chief culprits. 1 for 8 on 3rd down. And again, the Cougs have converted only 1 3rd and 11 or longer all year. This is 3rd and 11. Fumbled snap, and Jake gives it up inside the 10. Did BYU fall on it, or was it Utah football? This would be devastating for BYU. Snaps have not been a problem. That one got away from Retzloff. I think BYU fell on it inside the 10.
Yeah, they're calling it 4th.
BYU will punt from the end zone, but what a difficult possession to have to stomach in the comeback effort.
The snap was dribbled back. So that's one of the first bad snaps that I've seen from Bruce Mitchell. It was dribbled back to Jake. Jake kind of scooped it up, and by the time he turned around to let it go, he had defenders on his neck, and he fumbled that thing.
Momentum back to Utah. Vanderhaar will punt from the end zone. Back spinner. Fair catch called for and made at the 47 of Utah by Dorian Singer. Now the Utes will face a short field. Well, the comeback effort stalls with 8:37 to go. Utah with a touchdown makes it a 2-possession game. If they can score 6 on this next drive, BYU's comeback efforts become all the more vital. 21-19 Utes. BYU got nothing out of that last possession. The deep shot on first down. A loss of 1 on 2nd down. A fumble on the snap on 3rd down, and a punt out of the end zone.
Here comes a heavy dose of run from Utah, so stack it up.
Bernard off the right hip of Rose, wides to either side, but a throw on first down, and a throw to Bernard. He's hit, makes the catch for a loss of 1 on the play. And you know what? Hanging on to that football was hard to do, as hard as he was hit, but Bernard did just that. Now it's a completion for a loss of 1. But that could have easily been a knockout of the football, and BYU scooping and scoring the other way. It was that kind of hit.
Well, not only that, if that thing's a little more delayed, then you've got Mark Collins right there to intercept it for a pick 6. That is a dangerous play to roll out with.
Collins is slow to get up and forces an official's timeout. And he'll be leaving the field with 8:13 to go, and the clock stops for the time being.
Boy, he put the lick on him, too, and he's just kind of... He looks okay. It does look like it's some type of stinger.
2nd and 11.
Yep.
From the Utah 45.
That's a weird sensation. Those stingers, when your head gets hit to the side and you feel this jolt of energy go down your arm, and then your arm goes completely limp, kind of weak. Stingers are such a strange thing.
So Utah did not throw on that first down. It was a pass for a loss of 1. Now the clock is rolling to 8:08.